Hi, and thanks for joining us for this webinar on teaching with slides. I'm Danny Maguire from Smart Sparrow, and joining me is Steph from the Best Network. If you have any questions at any stage about working with the Smart Sparrow Adaptive e-learning platform, feel free to contact me via email, and any questions relating to slides can be directed to Steph. This webinar will cover the different ways that slides is currently being used in class, the new features that make teaching with slides easier, and how to use images from slides in adaptive lessons. You're currently all on mute, so if you have any questions, please type them into the panel on the side, and we will address them at the end. I'll now pass over to Steph now to cover the new features developed for Slice.
Thanks, Danny. First up, Slice is a collaborative biomedical image bank created by members of the Best Network. A community of academics, like yourselves, created this online image repository to open up access to images that were previously only available in-house, with the goal of preventing the costly duplication of image collections. Now, Slice enables academics to access image collections contributed by universities all around the world. These images have all been approved for use for education purposes, meaning there is no need to seek copyright permission, and it's easy to know who to acknowledge when creating teaching resources. You might have had a chance to look around Slice already, but I'll quickly revise how you can use the Annotate tool on Slice. So the first step is to search for an image that you'd like to use. So we're going to search osteoarthritis today, and we're looking for an X-ray image, so we're going to use the filter for imaging. The next step is to log in so that you're using your Best Network account. And the first step to creating annotations is to make a new layer. So click plus layer. So now you're going to give this layer a title and any description if you're interested, and click done. Now within this layer level, you can click the blue Add Annotation button and give your annotation a title. Alright, so now there are 4 different ways that you can add an annotation to an image. You can drop a pin, draw a rectangle, a circle, or a polygon. So I'm going to select a polygon here now and draw around the head of the femur. Here I'm holding down the Shift key so that I can draw around the area quickly, but I can also add another annotation and click to change each direction. And double click to end. So I can now change the colour of the annotation by clicking the paint can and choosing a colour that shows up nicely against the image. When I'm finished, and I click done. So that's how you annotate. Academics have been using Slice in class in one of 3 ways. Firstly, using images in lectures and tutorials to demonstrate a feature. Secondly, through running practical classes where students are annotating individually or in groups. And lastly, using Slice images in Smart Sparrow tutorials as part of an interactive drag and drop question. There are new features available that make teaching with Slice easier. The first is the ability to create a personal collection of favourite images. After logging in, the Slice homepage shows the featured slides and the My Slides option. The My Slides category shows all the images you've annotated on or selected as a favourite. To the right of the screen, you can further refine this category to just images that are favourites or that you've annotated. To add images as favourites, as you search for or use images on Slice, so here we're just searching rat, selecting an image, and now to select this as a favourite, I click the grey Favourite button, either in the search results or when I'm looking at an image, and it will be added to your collection. Simply click again to remove the image from your favourites. The second new feature is one that makes it possible to use Slice as part of assessments. Slice annotations now report when the annotation layer was last edited by a user. So you can see here I've just highlighted the section where it says the layer owner and when it was last edited. This means that if annotation exercises are set as part of an assessment, the academic can tell if the annotation is changed post-due date. We've also given you greater control when sharing annotation layers. Previously on Slice, after sharing an annotation layer, any logged in BEST user could duplicate and then edit your annotation layer. Now, when you create a new annotation layer or edit an old layer, you can control whether whoever you send your layer to can duplicate and thus edit the layer. This prevents any of your work being altered and can be used when circulating annotations to students. Additionally, you can prevent access to layers that have previously been shared by unchecking the Allow anyone with the layer URL to view this layer box. This will mean that only you can access the layer from that point onwards. Access can be restored at a later point by rechecking the box. Or the layer could be duplicated and then shared with a new audience. What this means in practical terms is that a layer created to show students answers can be made available for a limited time only, and we all know that that's what gets students to look at teaching resources. As I mentioned, there are 3 common ways of using Slice in class. The next couple of webinars are going to focus on case studies presented by academics running Slice-based activities in class. Today, though, we're going to focus on using Slice images as part of an interactive drag and drop question on the Smart Sparrow Adaptive e-learning platform. So I'll pass back to Danny to cover this.
Thanks, Steph. To use a slice image in an Annotate activity on the Smart Sparrow Adaptive e-learning platform, you need to remember to copy the slice ID, which will be used to quickly search the database on the Smart Sparrow e-learning platform. So you can find this in the metadata of that particular image. To create an adaptive online activity using Slice, you need to go to your workspace. Once in your workspace, click on the Lessons tab. Once you click on the Lessons tab, click on Create a Lesson. Once you are in your new lesson, you will see a few components. You have your authoring panel on the top. The screen in the center, this is what your students will see and interact with. To the left, you will see the list of screens in your lesson for ease of navigation. And most importantly, the Adaptivity panel where you can author adaptive feedback and sequencing. To create a drag and drop activity for your students using an image from Slice, you will need to click on Annotate, then click on the first drag and drop question. Click on Slice Repository. You will then see the drag and drop wizard appear on your screen. You will need to paste the Slice ID of your image to the Search tab and click Enter. Once your image appears, you will need to click on the image and click Next. You can zoom in and out of the image using the Insert box. You can even set the current view as well. And now you start annotating the features on the image you would like your students to identify. There are a few ways you can annotate. You can use a freehand or polygon, a rectangle or a circle. In this example, I want my students to identify the tongue, the heart and the lung. I will start by marking out the tongue. To do this, I change the name of this feature to tongue, and then annotate the correct area that corresponds to this feature. To add a new feature, you click Add Feature and repeat the process. Once complete, you click Next. I can also go back to add or delete annotation. So this is the final stage of setting up your drag and drop Annotate question. Here is where you provide adaptive feedback and pathways for your students. The first adaptive feedback will be given to students who mark all 3 features correctly. To adapt the feedback, double-click on the text box and add your feedback. I can also allow the students to review or skip a review screen of the features. The second adaptive feedback is based on the maximum number of attempts you would like to give your students. For example, I would like to give my students a maximum of 2 attempts. If they are not able to identify these features after 2 attempts, they will get the following feedback. After the first 2 adaptive feedback, you will have a list of features with a correct and incorrect feedback tab for each feature. This is to cater for students who have identified some features correctly or incorrectly. Once completed, click Done. To test this from a student's perspective, you need to click on Preview. Each attempt will allow students to receive the adaptive feedback and pathways authored by you. So you can see here that I am moving the stars on the areas I think are the correct regions, and I will receive my adaptive feedback. Once you have completed your Annotate activity, the next step will be to deploy this learning activity to your students. To do this, I will show you how to enroll your students to the lesson. If your university has integration with the Smart Sparrow Adaptive e-learning platform, you can add your lesson as an external tool and associate your lesson to your learning management system course page. If you'd like assistance, please email support@best.edu.au. If you do not have a Smart Sparrow integration, you can also use the platform to privately enroll your students. To do this, go to the lesson list, click on the lesson you would like to deploy to your students, and click Activation. You now have two options, public and private. Private activation means that you can identify your students in the analytics of your lessons in real time, and public means that your students will appear as a guest or anonymous in your lesson analytics, and they do not require a login to access the lesson. Click on Private. You will be presented with activation options for private. You can allow many attempts of the lesson. As well, for students to restart the lesson, you can send them an enrollment email and also be notified when a student completes the lesson. Once you have set the activation properties, you will need to enroll students. This is where you copy and paste a list of student email addresses. Alternatively, you can also type email addresses. You then need to click Enroll and Done to finalize the enrollment process. You can manage the enrollments by clicking on Enrollments, where you can enroll more students or even unenroll students if necessary. Once the students have access, you can look at the analytics. I've set up the same lesson previously, and to show you how the analytics will look like, for this example, students have been de-identified. When we click on Analytics, you will see an overview of the lesson, so how many students attempted this lesson, the average grade, the percentage of trap states triggered. If you would like a subgranular look into the analytics at the question level, you need to click on Questions. You then click on the question that you have set up. Once you click on this, you will see the analytics of this question. For Annotate drag and drop activities, we have a heat map where you can analyze where your students have placed their stars. You can filter a certain feature and see how many students identify the feature within the correct inside or incorrect outside regions that you have set up. You should now be able to create your own drag and drop Annotate activity using Slice, how to enroll students, and analyze their results. If you have any questions or would like support, please email support@best.edu.au. This ends the live demonstration of the webinar, and we would like to remind you that we will be having guest academic speakers during our February webinars. We hope you can join us again soon. To let you know, the BEST Management Committee have a proven initiative to assist and support academics like yourselves to deploy any BEST lesson to your students in Semester 1. If you are interested in deploying lessons or would like assistance in setting up Slice activities, please contact either myself or Steph, as we are more than happy to help. We'll now answer any questions that you have chatted to us.
Okay, so we have one question here. Can you give us more examples of how Slice is being used in class? Yes, so as part of my role at UNSW, I've been participating in some classes. I've seen teachers leading classes with the image up on the main projector, and the students are all working on the same slide on their individual computers. So as the teacher points out the features on the main image, the students are using the annotation tool to mark those features on their image, creating their own study notes that they can come back to access online anywhere they like on any sort of device. I've also seen group sessions being run where students are all annotating using the same account. So this means that they can see each other's annotations pop up as they're making their own, and they're creating one layer together that they can all come back to or submit as an assessment item. At the University of Melbourne, Students are accessing slice images through the Smart Sparrow platform using the Annotate, so dragging and dropping onto areas. But they're also accessing Slice through links that take them directly to Slice so that they can navigate around the image themselves, and they're a bit more autonomous in their activity. So another question we've got here is, can students access Slice? So the answer there is yes, they can. Students can register themselves on the BEST portal, or if you're working with your students to create a Slice-based learning activity, you can send us a list of all the students that need to be enrolled. We'll enroll them for you, and we'll also send the students some help resources and videos that they can watch so they know how to annotate and they're prepared when they come to class.
So thank you for the questions, and again, thank you for joining our webinar today. We hope you found it very useful and inspiring to start or add to teaching this semester.